Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of OA News Overtime. Jordan Hill with Justin Lee.
Jordan Davis Hill.
Justin.
We're back.
Lee.
Back from Texas.
Back from Texas.
Ate some brisket.
Made it back in one piece.
Drank some Lone Star. No, I
Went
didn't.
to a wedding.
I drank Modelo. It was great.
It was good times, right?
Yeah, readily available over there.
And now you're back and
Yeah, man,
right
beautiful,
in time.
beautiful Texas Tech country.
Oh,
I almost bought a Tech shirt, but I didn't. I bought a Lubbock Coronado High School shirt.
Okay,
So,
all right.
yeah.
Rocking
From the store.
It.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. We went swimming one day, and none of us brought swimsuits or anything, so we ran by Walmart and bought some $5 swimsuits.
Had to get some appropriate apparel while you were there.
I bought some $5 Pokemon sunglasses.
I like it.
They fit,
I was
though.
kind of hoping you were going to say goggles.
Yeah, no.
Like got Pikachu on the side of them.
Yeah.
Real nice, real classy.
Yeah. Now they're in the trash can at the Airbnb.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Justin, you are...
One-time use.
What now?
One-time use.
Yes.
Disposables.
Justin, you're coming back right in time for
man.
sort of the end of fall camp. We've
Yeah.
been in the mix. Obviously, last week we recorded over there at the complex.
Yeah.
I've gotten to see a little bit more since then. We've talked to Brian Harson after they had that first scrimmage.
Ooh, that sounded like a nightmare.
Oh my gosh, we had to wait quite a while, but it wasn't Harson or anybody's fault.
Dude, I bet
Lightning pushed practice back or pushed that scrimmage back.
I bet the field's all tore up. I bet the grounds crew's having a hard time.
They probably had to. But, what I was kind of taken by, and I'll let you kind of jump off of this in a second, just talking about where they kind of are in fall camp. But
Sure.
he talked about he went to basically the team leaders, the captains, while they were waiting. I was like, what do you guys want to do? I think,
really?
being open to, do we want to scrimmage another day? He said that they were like, we're going to wait it out. We're going to do whatever we can and still have that scrimmage. So that was pretty interesting to get a little insight on that. And I know
Do you know who the captains are yet?
I don't
Just
know.
veterans?
He just said I think team leaders.
Bo and Owen.
He didn't. I don't think he named specific people.
Bo and Owen.
But as
I'll name specific people.
Yeah. But as some of the people, some of the other beat writers pointed out, he gave us probably more intel after a scrimmage than probably
Sure.
Gus ever did.
Sure.
Well,
Hey, we got an open practice going on.
I know.
How weird is that?
That is wild.
I haven't seen that in the SEC. I mean, maybe I'm not paying attention, but I haven't seen that.
I would be hard-pressed. I don't know what South Carolina's practices have looked like just because I bring them up because they've been very open with
yeah,
media.
you're right.
I mean,
Yeah.
they rolled out every quarterback but a walk-on the other day to talk to players.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've done it, but yeah, it's very, very rare. And that's something that in talking to different people, I've kind of made the point, I'm just glad that we're getting the access we're getting because
Sure.
they don't have to do that.
Right, right.
I went to Georgia. I covered Georgia when I was still in school.
Yeah.
Georgia by no means did any of this kind of stuff as far as, not getting to watch any kind of practice. I know
Right.
we only get 20 minutes, but we have gotten a few open practices and going to have another one for a full length.
The open practice is crazy.
It's
in the fall?
And
right before the game?
The week
yeah,
before.
obviously they're not going to run any of their stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean when they
fans in,
put Tank Bigsby back there at quarterback, man. I mean Akron
they
Zips.
show their Wildcat triple flip, double sow cow reverse pass.
Tom Arth is going to be in the stands, and you don't get that joke because Tom Arth is the head coach at Akron,
And no one knows.
Nobody knows who Tom Arth is.
Dude, they could show up though.
They could.
What if they did?
Nah, I doubt it. They're cheering on Brandon Council. He played at Akron.
Oh yeah.
I asked him about that, and I was, I might wind up writing something quick on that. But
Okay.
he was like, yeah, it was fun, but I feel like I've, made a lot of progress.
Sure. Sure.
I feel like we're kind of getting a little off track.
We are
but
rambling.
But we're still talking football.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts just on what we've seen to this point and what we've kind of heard around the program as we get closer and closer to the start of the season?
What's funny is I just went and listened to. Let's go on another tangent. I just went and listened to Andy Burcham speak at the Rotary Club. I guess it's the Auburn Rotary Club. Abby Crank has the details. I was just there to take a picture. Dude, he was such a captivating speaker, I forgot to take a picture until the very end.
Whoa.
He was taking questions, and I was like, oh, gosh. I went and got
The reason I'm here.
But that was really funny, and he obviously he went over the whole team with people, but then was just talking about how much he's looking forward to kind of a more normal season if that can happen. He's talking about and he would nod at me. He's like, Justin, you know this, talking about parking. And he's like, yeah, the parking, they usually put us way over there. And last year he would just roll up to the Coliseum right across the street and just walk in. And he's like, looking forward to worse parking this year.
Yeah.
I want to be way back there and talk to some folks.
Y'all gotta shuttle us.
Yeah, and maybe talk to some folks on the way in.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. I think that just kind of the buzz, man. Just kind of the buzz from everybody, hoping that this could be more of a normal season. We saw the convocation starring Suni Lee as a cameo appearance.
True.
That was a thing. That's new. That's different.
Yeah.
I've never seen that at Auburn before, but all the students went in the stadium. A little preview of what the student section will look like. But hey, man, numbers are bad at the hospital, but it has to be said. But wherever those decisions are made up the line in the governor's office or whatever, that's where those decisions are going to be made. But yeah, just kind of the excitement of maybe a more normal season. It's kind of, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm picking up today.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And like you mentioned, the convocation, Brian Harsin was out there and was talking about championships, and that really fired a bunch of people up. I mean, and that if you're a fan, that's what you want to hear your first year head coach, talking about the aim and what they want to do here. And obviously he came in knowing that's the expectation because they just fired a coach that never had a losing season. So obviously the aim's going to be a little bit higher than what Gus was able to do.
And who had a pretty good first year.
Yes. It was okay, I guess. No, had a great first year and came within probably, 13 seconds maybe of winning a national title.
I think it's exactly 13 seconds.
Yep. With Harsin coming off of that scrimmage that we got to talk to him afterwards, I'm trying to think of some of the stuff that stood out. He talked about the defense made forced several turnovers, I should say. I think that should make you excited. Clearly, we didn't, get to see what those looked like, if it was, really clear mistakes by the offense or the defense really being scrappy and forcing turnovers.
Right.
Besides that,
what's up with safety by Darius? Somebody said by Darius Knighton.
That's the way that it is sounding. Smoke Monday's got that one safety spot obviously locked down, but we keep hearing more and more about by Darius Knighton. And
he's a SEMO guy, right?
Yes. Yeah. Southeastern Missouri State transfer who had a lot of praise from when he played at SEMO and has clearly really impressed people. And shout out to cornerback Nehemiah Pritchett because he was basically giving us like the secondary, like how it was all stacking up.
Let's go, Nehemiah.
So, people were just, and then
we're not hiding anything, Nehemiah. Let's go.
And then somebody tried to ask him about which quarterback looked best, and then he went to, they're all looking good. So I was like, sometimes you got to pressure luck.
Yeah.
But, I think based on what we're hearing, by Darius Knighton is probably the guy. He talked about Donovan Kaufman, who came over from Vanderbilt, playing a good bit of nickel.
Okay. Move him to nickel and special teams. That makes sense to me.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense to me. Other than that, looking back on that scrimmage, I thought it was really funny. Someone asked about Demetrius Robertson, how he played. And Brian talked about Demetrius Davis, I should say, for about 3 or 4 minutes, and really praised the way he played in that scrimmage, only for him to be like, Coach, I was actually asking about. And to Brian's credit, he was like, oh, well, you got a bonus there, basically, and then started talking about Demetrius Robertson.
Went after both, yeah.
But apparently he played pretty well. I still think, obviously it's Bo, and then it's TJ, and then it's Demetrius. But that has to make you feel good because we've heard good things about Davis going back to the spring.
Probably the upside of Demetrius.
Oh, yeah.
If it came in a game, Grant might jump in there first.
Yeah, I agree.
If 2 people get hurt against Akron.
I agree.
But, yeah, the upside, the future.
Yeah.
Demetrius.
And some of the other players, I'm trying to remember who it was specifically, had said, that he had made significant gains since first getting there in the spring, which is what you would hope.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean just because you hope it is what he actually does.
All right.
So that was pretty good to see. As far as just other things we've seen in camp, I mean, people continue to praise the defensive line, which is, to me, it's up there with probably the receivers as, like, the biggest question mark and how that shakes out. And people have been singing the praises of guys like Derek Hall, which I don't think surprises probably either of us, but also T.D. Moultrie, who I think is a guy that, probably hasn't quite had the career that we might have thought he would.
Sure.
But
there's always time, brother.
Yes. Him coming back for, I believe he's a super senior. I mean, so that may really, really pay off for him.
And he was asked super seniors, and he's like, do you have the number? He asked me out in the crowd, and he put me on the spot. And I said 5 or 6. I mean,
believe
Chandler,
it's
Tony.
Yeah.
Demetrius.
I think Devin Geis might be.
Okay.
Malcolm Askew. I'm trying to remember. There's a few of those guys that because initially we were only told two. It was originally going to be Tyrone Truesdale, who's no longer on the team, and then Grant Loy. That had been the two we knew.
Yeah.
And then
But like the transfers, Tony, Demetrius, Tony Fair, Demetrius, right? Robinson,
yeah,
they're all super seniors.
I believe so. I know Demetrius is. I'm not positive on Tony Fair.
Tony is.
Probably is.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yeah, there's a number of guys that have played and they're expecting to play bigger roles.
Right. Wooten.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chandler. Well, technically, I don't.
He's the only one. Well, he's the only one who used it.
Well,
the way that it's drawn up, right?
Yeah.
He's the only one.
He opted out, so I think technically he had that other year of eligibility.
Yeah, I guess.
Either way, he's a very experienced guy coming back.
Right. Speaking of Tony.
Oh, yeah?
I'm just saying that DT position, defensive tackle nose guard, right? Without Tyrone.
Yes.
Who did he leave? Have we talked about him on the podcast yet?
I
don't think
believe
so.
we might have talked about him. Yeah, we talked about him last week while we were standing up there melting. I went back and watched the video. If you want to see a man completely melt.
My hair probably gets like more curly as it goes on.
I was so sweaty by the end of that.
When we got up there was cloud cover, and then there wasn't. But it's okay.
God shined a light down on the Opelika-Auburn News overtime podcast. But yeah.
So Tony Fair's in there. JJ Pegues is in there. Those are probably one of the biggest question marks now that Trues is gone.
Yes, and I think that that'll be something. Fast forwarding to something that you mentioned earlier, they've announced that on August 28th there's going to be an open practice, and fans can come. There's going to be like a fan zone at noon, and then they're going to practice, I believe, at 2 Central Time on that Saturday. The Saturday that is 1 week before they play Akron. What are some of the things you're kind of looking for? Because I think you kind of hit on my biggest one is just who fills that spot in the middle of the defensive line. Because that, I think on all the other positions we have a pretty good feel of like the 2 or 3 guys. Like say receiver. I mean, we've seen some of those guys who you're like, okay, they have a pretty good chance. I think there's still a little bit of uncertainty about who it is that's going to kind of fill the middle of that line, and that may be really the biggest role on that defensive line. You got to have a guy that can stuff the run in the middle of that line.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what a game breaker Derek Brown at that position inside. Yes. I mean, it can change a game. But no, I think I would most look. It's interesting you talk about Donovan. Like, I'm interested to see him at nickel and all that. Yes. Like, that's interesting to me. But I mean, I keep repeating myself. Who is Bo going to throw to?
Yes.
Like, who's going to be the receiver? Who's going to be the guy? And man, I want to see Elijah in an extended situation because we've only seen him for 20 minutes. But he looks the part, man. When he's out there, he looks the part. And and like we say, it's only a few drills, but sometimes you can tell. You're like, that guy's got it or that guy doesn't.
Yeah. I agree. Something that I don't know if we'll see at that practice, but it's one of those things that we've really not gotten to see at all is like, I want to see who the returners are. You mentioned Donovan Kaufman. It seems like he would be at least in the mix for punt return or kick return. He did really well in the 2 games that he played for Vanderbilt last year. Yeah. But basically, like, now I'm just like, when Auburn football puts out a video of them at practice, I'm like, looking at it with a magnifying glass, and it looked like they had Nehemiah Pritchett at one point back there returning a punt, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. I mean, they could be getting several different guys at reps, but yeah, I saw that and was like, hey, look at this.
Look, Nehemiah.
Yeah.
We found him.
So we really don't know, and obviously even back with kick returns, like it seems highly unlikely that they'll put Tank back there, but I mean,
one would think, Jordan.
One would hope.
One would think. Maybe Worm. I
would be okay with, if you're an Auburn fan watching that, I would not panic if they had Sean back there. But
as soon as number 4 trots back out there, I'm like, what are y'all doing?
I mean, unless the call is fair catch.
Yeah.
That's just asking for trouble.
That's just my opinion.
No,
we'll see how that goes.
I think you're right. What else with what's left of fall camp? They've still got several practices, and we'll get to see that kind of, essentially a dress rehearsal, even though we know they're not going to show us a ton.
Sure.
Because, again, Coach Arth may be there.
Yeah.
But is there anything else, or even just from what we've seen so far, that has stood out to you?
I mean, we're so weak. We're so far in. Bo's the quarterback. Like, it's over. Like, don't worry about it. Like, he's taken every time they.
We did it, Bo.
Yeah.
That's going to be the name of this episode.
Every single drill we see, every single one, he's the first one to take the rep. Not even once has anyone else taken the first rep. Bo's your quarterback coming into the first game.
Yes.
So That we can say that now definitively.
And I will say this too, that brings up something that Brian Harsin said after that scrimmage. Someone asked him, in the past he has played multiple quarterbacks, and
Sure.
he was asked, is that on the table? Not that that's the plan, but is that something you would consider?
Sure.
And he said, we have done that in the past, but that's not what we're focused on. Like, that's not, basically saying that's not what the plan is.
It's not what you want to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
I thought
I
that
missed
was,
that, so
and
that's
I
good.
thought that was interesting that he said that. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't really change anything. And I think anyone who's really watched, I think
Right.
TJ has looked good, but I have not yet come out of a day and said, TJ may be pushing
Yeah,
Bo. I think,
not yet, no.
I think that it's pretty clearly still Bo's job, and
And as we said, TJ, hey, if he can come and push Bo, good. But again, he is a COVID freshman, and it's like everyone's like, oh, he's coming in to compete with Bo.
technically,
He's kind of coming in to compete with Demetrius.
Yeah.
It's him and Demetrius as the next. Who's next?
Yeah.
Is kind of how I see it, honestly. So, but obviously you want as good. If things go sour for Bo, he gets in his own head. Can't
Yeah.
stop throwing to the other team. Then you want your best option available. So.
I think that's exactly the way you have to look at it. It's like on the, like say everything goes as we hope, you get a guy that's got a little bit of SEC experience,
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of mold him. He can be behind a guy like Bo, who
Mm-hmm.
we hope to bring Bo's game to the next level.
Sure.
And in the process, TJ can learn.
Mm-hmm.
And then worst case scenario, Bo does not play the way we hope he can, and then we've got another option. So,
Right.
So I don't, I've never gotten the sense that TJ was brought in and told, I mean, I'm sure they told him you could compete, but I don't
Right.
think there was the assumption that he would have
Right.
an inside track maybe playing.
Jordan, the only question left is this the year?
I mean, dark horse Heisman candidate.
We'll find out soon enough.
Yes. And the nice thing will be, too, before we kind of shift gears real quick, these early games, you can even still get a guy like TJ in. If things go to plan, you should be able to get TJ Finley in the Akron game and the Alabama State game. So you can kind of see what he's able to do and how he handles those moments.
Right, for sure, yeah.
So shifting from football, which has been the focus clearly since they really opened fall camp, we had a chance to talk to the one and only Suni Lee.
Hey, man.
Last Friday.
I even jumped in there.
He was in Texas.
I know.
I was like, all right, I got it. Don't worry.
No,
and then
I
first question of the Zoom, we got Justin Lee. I'm like, all right, cool.
I wasn't planning on it. I thought we'd have plans, but then that morning, just like game time decision, it was like 9:45. We were in an Airbnb, me and the groomsmen. Guys were showering and stuff, and I was like, all right, I'll jump in my room, and I can jump in. I got 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
it worked out. I wasn't planning on it, but it worked out. It was good.
And so it was nice. This was really Suni's first media availability since she got to
I
Auburn.
was just going to say how ironic, though, that like she finally does a media. And
I know.
I'm gone.
I messaged you and was like, hey, man, we're getting Suni tomorrow. And you're like, come on.
Of course.
I was like, they knew. They were timing. They were looking at him like, all right.
He's gone.
All
Get
right,
him.
we got the Friday wide open.
Yeah.
But-
nah, it worked out. Jumped in there.
Oh, yeah. But looking at the way that kind of played out, that was really Suni's first availability since she got to Auburn. What stood out to you? What did you take away from what she had to say, about the last few weeks and sort of even her vision for what she is kind of focused on going forward?
I mean, it's just how excited she is to be here. It was, I don't know, kind of a weird thing to see her with that AU backdrop behind her. You know what I mean? But thankfully, I said on Twitter, I won't become the Joker telling these people that she's really coming. She's really coming.
Like,
so,
oh, no, that's, on Zoom you can make fake backgrounds. She wasn't really there.
That's all a conspiracy.
Yeah.
The coolest thing was her at the convocation, man. So
Yes.
so if you haven't seen that video, it's I think it's on Twitter. She posted on her Twitter too.
Yes.
But Butch Thompson speaking, and he's like, you come here to Auburn, you can do anything. And he's like, what am I talking about? Y'all already did everything. And and there's Suni in the crowd with the shaker in hand, and and I wrote that column at the end. And that's what it's all about. That's what it was all about, and I think that's what Suni's legacy could be. I think that's the opportunity for her because I wrote that thing, and there was I can't remember her name, but it was an old gymnast from like '96, right? And this is the dark days of U.S. gymnastics, and this is a girl who's pushed too hard to do too much. Didn't get to have a real childhood or life, you know what I mean, doing this stuff. And she goes up on the medal stand, and she's hearing the national anthem play, and it's like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, what's next for me?
Yeah.
And Suni went up on that podium, and she knew, and she told everyone in the world, even though they didn't believe her, I'm going to Auburn. That's
See
what
you
I'm
in
gonna
the
do.
plains.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Auburn. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna go to the I'm gonna go to football games. I'm gonna go watch the Eagle, and I'm gonna compete for gymnastics for Auburn. And so there it was. There she was with her shaker. You know what I mean? That's pretty cool. And I think that's the coolest thing about NIL to me, is that maybe she can pave the way, and some of these elite gymnasts who just because of the nature of the sport peak when they're 16, 17, 18, they can still be normal girls. They can still go to college if they want to. That's so big, and and then so right away we see that's kind of the trailblazing that Suni's doing. That's kind of the path she's carving for other elites, to say, hey, there's life after gymnastics. You can still go to school.
And I thought it was very interesting. I thought she was really candid about like handling this newfound fame. I mean, she was
Sure.
like, I mean, it's something she kind of expects to eventually die down, which I'm sure it will. But I know at one point she was asked, "Did you see the billboard in town that like had you with the gold medal?" And she's like, "No, I haven't seen that." But
there's been a lot of billboards.
yeah, there's been a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But I thought that to me, she really showed a maturity of like,
Sure.
obviously everybody knows who I am, so that's been nice. And she said, that everybody's been really pleasant with welcoming her to Auburn and helping her get settled in. She said all the other gymnasts have reached out separately and been like, what do you need? Which, I mean, I feel like there could be that window where if you're one of her teammates, she's obviously already the biggest star on this team.
Sure.
But clearly they've all showed that they want her and value her and
Oh, yeah.
want to make her fit in and make sure she fits in.
Oh, yeah.
So that was really nice to see, and obviously this is just going to be the start, and I'm sure.
We talk about super seniors. There's a lot of super seniors who, Drew Watson's one of them, who presumably came back, obviously for another, a little more school, but presumably came back to compete with Suni.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so they're fired up to have her.
And it's going to be fun to watch, and I'm sure that this is the first time we've talked about Suni since she landed in Auburn, but most certainly not the last.
No. Like I said, I did the South Park thing on Twitter. Like, what do we do now? Now we play the game.
Yeah.
Now she's here.
Well, let's do it. A couple of things before we get out of here, Justin. Summer League has been underway for the NBA, and two guys that were playing for Auburn last year have looked pretty good so far. Sharif Cooper with the Atlanta Hawks, JT Thor with the Charlotte Hornets.
Sharif hit a game winner, man.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
How much value or stock do you kind of put in what they've been able to do? Again, it is just Summer League, but they are trying to show what they can do at the next level.
Well, you don't want to get out there and look lost.
Yeah.
And with a deer in your eyes.
Deer in the
headlights. In your eyes, whatever it is.
Oh dear.
But they didn't look lost. They looked like they fit right in. And with Sharif, man, he was dishing dimes to players he's never played with before. So I mean, that's going to translate. That stuff's going to go to the next level. It's not just players that he's able to practice with. I don't even know how much they practice together, these guys in Summer League. This is a hodgepodge of players.
Yeah.
And he was still dishing a little behind the back, under the hoop. So, I mean, that's the main thing you want is to look the part, and they all look the part. Both of them look the part. They both had good stat lines. They both had some highlight plays. JT Thor had that block that was all over social media. So, there you go. Looking the part, and they did that.
What was nice was seeing, like, immediately after JT had that big moment and then Sharif hit that game winner was seeing Bruce Pearl's timeline on Twitter because it was like, we knew, JT could do that, and, like, Sharif was the guy
Bruce
we could
on here like, I told you.
I let everybody know. What I was really taken by, or what stood out to me is, since Summer League started, Sharif I know with The Athletic they had a really interesting Q&A with him, and he talked about essentially kind of playing with a chip on his shoulder because he went, a lot later in the draft than I think most people expected. We knew that, he probably wasn't going to be a lottery pick, but I mean, he went in the second round.
No, it was later.
JT went before he did, and I think that he's kind of taken the mindset that I want to prove some people wrong. And if you're, I mean, I like the Atlanta Hawks, and if you're a diehard Atlanta Hawks fan, I think that should really excite you with what he could do as the backup point guard behind Trey.
That's a really good. For the Hawks, we've talked about before, but for
the
Hawks, what a good
perfect
pick.
fit.
Yeah, perfect pick.
I mean,
what kind of what value are you going to get out of your second round pick besides that? Like the guy to give Trey a breather, like that's perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So, and maybe put them both on the floor at the same time. Get Trey some open threes. You never know.
Could see.
You never know.
Excited to see them. If they put them both on the floor, I may fall over and have a conniption.
If the other team's going small, it could happen.
So, Justin, let's get ready to finish this
Okay.
episode, but we got to start with this. For us,
Hey, baby, let's
this
go.
is the start of high school football.
Let's go, baby.
We got some games on Thursday and then
Fired up.
pretty regular slate on Friday.
Yep.
Just generally with high school football this time of year, what are you most excited about high school football being back?
Man, high school football is the greatest sport in the world. It's near and dear to my heart, man. It's so much fun. And, man, anybody who's listening, both of y'all out there, let me tell you.
Mom, Dad,
Listen,
Uncle Earl.
When we were in the middle of lockdown last summer and no one could go anywhere or do anything, we all said we're never going to take sports for granted. Man, go Friday night, turn off the TV and go to the game down the road. Find the one closest
Tell the
to
missus.
Round the kids up. Get everybody, man. And just go to the game. It doesn't matter if you went to school there or not.
No.
Just find the school closest to you. Find you a home game and just roll through, slide through. And if you want to leave at halftime, leave at halftime. But chances are you're going to stay the whole game, and chances are you're going to come back another week.
Absolutely.
So, just get out, man. And like you said, we said we never take it for granted. So don't. If we get a chance, if the ball's in the air, man, go watch it. Go see it. TV will be there when you get back.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I know from our perspective as riders at the games, there's nothing I enjoy more than going to a game and talking to a guy afterwards who had a big game and then giving him the stat line, what he was able to do that night. I'll never forget Amante Spivey. He's at East Mississippi Community College now, but he was at Central, Phoenix City. And I can't remember the stat line, but, I mean, he had ran all over whoever they were playing. And so I get to him like, Amante, you had 330 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. And the look on his face, like, he was just so, he was like, oh, my gosh.
Dude, I have an Amante story. Remember that? He, called the touchdown on the sideline to me. Ran over to me and was like, it's a touchdown. And then he comes back and he's like, you see that? You see that? I really wish I had my phone rolling then, but I didn't. I was taking pictures, still pictures. But, dude, Amante's great.
It's the best time of the year. I truly, truly mean that. I love covering high school football
so much. It's the best, man. It's the best. Get to a game. You'll like it. Promise.
Well, we're going to get ready to go to our games.
Yeah, man.
And,
getting fired up.
Thanks again for watching. Always make sure and subscribe and like and tell your mom, pa.
Hey, that $1 deal's still out there, I think.
Yes, it is, because I was plugging it yesterday when I went and got my truck from the mechanic shop. I was like,
tell them about it.
Hey, y'all.
It's $1.
Get $1.
Seriously, all football season. 6 months for $1. Just get it taken care of now. Get it taken care of for $1.
Do it.
We're there.
We'll give you time. We're going to get out of here. Until next week, take care.